This is Danny Gilfillan for Seconds Out. We're in Sheffield. We've just had the weigh-in for Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington. Pleasure to be joined by Eddie Hearn. Eddie, that was tasty. Both men fired up. Thoughts on the weigh-in?
I just think we're going to get a great fight. You know, I think both guys kind of looked at each other at the end and said, let's fucking have it. Do you know what I mean? Just two old school world champions. And, you know, now you get the debate online. Oh, Lee Wood looks a bit drawn. Oh, Josh Warrington look well. Like, you know, I'm changing my pick. I'm doing this. And, you know, we've seen... I don't think Josh Warrington, Lee Wood's ever looked good on the scales, in honesty. I think he finds it difficult to get to 126 by all accounts. This was a better weight cut than most, but tight, always tight. But he's going to refuel nice and big tomorrow night. And Josh looks fresh, fired up, full of confidence. Going to be a hell of a fight.
Lee said that provided he gets through this fight, a move up to super feather could be on the cards. As you said, he didn't look great up there. Do you think that could play a factor in the fight? Do you think we'll see the best Lee Wood?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I know how difficult it was for him to make the weight against Maurizio Lara in his last fight. This wasn't as difficult. So, you know, he's was closer to the number. I think that activity is going to help. You know, sometimes when a fighter's tight at the weight and then they go and have 3 months off, you know, they hit numbers and they've got to come all the way down. But he hasn't been able to do that because of his activity, you know. So I don't think the weight will be an issue for him at all tomorrow. I think he'll be refueled, fired up and punching very hard tomorrow night.
Eddie, for a fight like this where a big part of the rivalry, the sort of football allegiances has come into it, do you sort of half miss that Sky Sports machine where you can push it in the Premier League games? And I know it's got a big fight feel.
Never really did that, to be honest with you. Sometimes they did it, but they only really wanted to do it around pay-per-view. Now they're doing it a lot more because it's, I don't say bitterness, but, you know, we know the support we got from the broadcaster while we were there for our non-pay-per-view shows. That has now changed, but really that benefit came across pay-per-views. So when there was an opportunity of a big pay-per-view, Sky was so proactive in that respect, getting people on the pitch, driving it on Soccer Saturday, adverts, you know, etc. So we definitely have to do more. You know, we've invested a lot across our content. We've got great partnerships with the BBC and 5 Live. The fighters are doing more media than ever. We're doing more in the community. So we have I think a lesser promotional machine behind us now, but we're making up for that across my social, our socials, and additional activity. So I think it's very beneficial to have Sky, but only when they're actually pushing it, which they've started to do now, but we've gone.
In the UK, does it sort of break down as simply as we just sort of need football on DAZN to get that real push?
I think to hit the numbers of a Sky, yeah, and obviously the owners and the strategists there will be doing everything they can to pick up the Premier League. I think that's every broadcaster's dream to do it. But we're very happy with our numbers. We're very happy with our platform. We're very happy with our schedule. We're very happy with our budget as a business. You know, this fight is a very difficult fight to make off pay-per-view. And I don't think I could have done this fight on Sky off pay-per-view. And it's one of those fights where if it does pay-per-view on Sky, it does 150,000 buys. So is it really a pay-per-view? But we're able to make fights like this, make Taylor against Cameron previously, and this time Cameron against Taylor. Do you know what I mean? As non-pay-per-view. And that was really the attraction of doing it, because I felt too much pressure in the end. Of every time we wanted to make a big fight, it had to be pay-per-view. And the one who was getting all the stick and having to go out in front of the firing line was me. Do you know what I mean? So it's nice for me to, you know, put this fight on as part of your subscription. And if you're a DAZN subscriber, you got Canelo Charlo last week. That wasn't pay-per-view either. You know, you got also coming up, you're going to have Devin Haney against... Yeah, well, that is pay-per-view. Do you know what I mean? But Haney against Prograde, non-pay-per-view in the UK. Bam against Sonny Edwards, non-pay-per-view again in the UK. Taylor against Cameron against Taylor this time, non-pay-per-view in the UK. So I think all in all, you know, I think it's great value for fight fans.
Just back onto the boxing before we bore everyone with the business talk. Joe Cordina for the winner?
Yeah, I think Cordina's going to want to unify. I mean, we've got Hernandez against Oshaki Foster coming up in Cancun on October 28th. And Joe will be looking at the winner of that. He's got to win in Monaco first. But Lee Wood will certainly be looking to move up to super feather. And Josh Warrington, win or lose, might do the same. And, you know, with their fan bases, that would be a big fight.
Just moving away from Saturday night, at Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr, you've tipped to land on December 23rd. Realistically, what's the chances of that fight happening on that date?
I mean, more likely than not. But there's a few things we've got to decide, mainly where that fight will take place. We have 2 international offers, but we want to do the fight in Britain. we've spoke to the British Boxing Board of Control. Our position is that legally, we feel that we're allowed to stage that fight in the UK, but they have to feel the same way, and we're sitting down and we'll propose that to them. If they don't want to do that, we will take the fight internationally. But if they do want to do that, we sign the fight within 24 hours and we've got a mega fight in this country. So all is down to them in terms of where this fight will land, but I'm very confident it happens.
Abu Dhabi's been billed as a potential site for the fight, but do you not think it would take a lot away from that fight? And I know it would be potentially quite lucrative if it did happen in the Middle East, but the atmosphere out there is not great.
I disagree. I think December 23rd in Abu Dhabi, an hour from Dubai, I think it'll be full of Brits. I think the atmosphere would be unbelievable. I think the stadium would be packed. But, of course, it's a mega fight between two Brits that should really be happening in Britain. But if we feel like we should be allowed, but we're not allowed, we have to look at an alternative venue. I've always said our preference is the UK for that fight. It'll be over to them.
We saw Fury Usyk. There's no date and venue yet, but expected to be Saudi Arabia end of this year, beginning of next. Do you think sort of British fight fans need to just accept that for the absolute biggest fights, they might not happen in the UK?
You don't really want that to be the case, but it's becoming more and more likely. That's the sad thing, if you like, about Ben Eubank, because like I say, whatever you think of the situation, we're being advised and the legal position is he's not suspended. He should be allowed to fight at this moment. We have a chance to bring one of the biggest British fights to Britain in December. And if we don't, it's going to the Middle East. Fury Usyk's in the Middle East. Joshua against Wilder will probably be in the Middle East or in Vegas. So we're under pressure to bring big fights to the UK. So we'll see. But it's definitely in my mind to make sure we can make as many big fights as we can in this country.
What's the story with Joshua Wilder? I know you've got a bit of flag, even though it was sort of the reason the fight has fell through for the time being. Seemed to be skills challenge, withdrawal from boxing. I've seen a few interviews with you where you've said you're having conversations about staging the fight, be it Vegas, Abu Dhabi, elsewhere. What's the latest with Joshua Wilder?
We agreed the deal. So did Wilder. And because we've done a couple of fights with them before, I felt it was a done deal. Unfortunately, it wasn't. So we have to look for an alternative venue. There are discussions still going on with Saudi Arabia. Who's the right person to, we're getting all these approaches at the moment from Saudi. I will introduce you to this person. I'm like, we're fine, thank you. So we've got other options in the Middle East. The fight can easily take place in Las Vegas. The money won't be exactly the same as Saudi, but it's still a fortune. So I think it's more likely that we just go ahead with another site. You've got the Hrgovic stuff coming out now that we found out about last night. He could fight AJ for the vacant world heavyweight title. Do we try and do that in January? Anything can happen, but everything I say, people, yeah, right. But look, we went through months of negotiating that deal and meetings and promises, and we all agreed the deal. Unfortunately, it didn't materialise. That's boxing, so we've got to try and find the right spot.
You had said that there was a chance you'd get AJ out in December. Is that off the cards now?
Not off the cards, but anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Just moving on. We've got this Misfits card coming up, and whilst it's not my cup of tea, from what you see on social media, the card's stacked in terms of that thing. Whereas in terms of traditional boxing, it feels as if we aren't seeing cards as deep. What sort of conversations are you having with DAZN to ensure that they don't start prioritising influencer boxing over the traditional code?
I think they're massively committed to the professional code because of their commitment to us. So we're in a good place, so's the sport. But we can't get complacent that DAZN should just commit to this if the numbers aren't delivering. At the moment, they are, but are Misfits outperforming? Some Misfit shows are huge, some aren't so. Not every week's a banger that works for the broadcaster, as with our output as well. I think that it's a difficult one because Misfits in general is not really my cup of tea. Next week, I think, is a one-off. I think it's a massive event. I think it could do 1 million buys. I'm sitting there as a DAZN partner thinking if we're about to ram in 1 million new subscribers on DAZN, happy days. Because whatever you want to say about people converting to professional boxing, if you have those subscribers on your platform, it's now your job to get them to engage with content. So all of those subscribers next week, we will be pushing to watch Haney Prograis, to watch Cameron Taylor, to watch Catterall and Ares. And you can bet your life, a lot of them will. Some of them might go, I don't like professional boxing, I only like Misfits. So as a business, as a platform, I think Calla and Mams have done a brilliant job with Misfits. It's not my cup of tea. I'm probably going to go because my kids want to go. And they're pumped for it. So you know it's smart business. It just comes down to what you like. And I think as a platform, if you've got the very best of professional boxing, plus you've got this Misfits element and you're driving subscribers, if you can coerce the two together and get interest across all parties, I think it's going to be a success. And, you know, you can't ignore the numbers for next week. It's going to be massive.
Very last one there. I saw a video of, I think Oscar De La Hoya posted it to his own social media. He was very disheartened by Canelo Charlo. He's called for promoters to come together. Have you extended the olive branch to Oscar anytime recently? You've described him as a crazed fan in the past.
He wants everybody to come together, but will abuse me on social media. But I don't care for that. I want to make great fights. You know, we're talking about Munguia against Ryder. If Munguia wins that, we talk about the Belanga fight. Ryan Garcia should fight the winner of Haney against Prograis. There's loads of business we can do together. Talk is nice, but, you know, business is different.
Eddie, thanks very much, mate.